It is getting ready. Give me, hold on. Okay, we're live.
Hi, okay, great. Good evening. So it's January 11th, 2021, and this is our first CEC meeting, Communications and Community Engagement Committee meeting for the 2021 year, but not for the 2020-2021 school year. And we're gonna, you're gonna let people in for me, Antoinette?
Yep.
Okay, great. We're going to open the meeting with approval of minutes from the last meeting, and everyone was sent it. I don't think we need to read through it. Does anyone have any corrections or updates? No? Okay. So then can I get a motion for us to accept the minutes from the last meeting, which was on November 10th, 2020?
I move that we accept the minutes from, what was it, November 2020?
Yes.
I second the motion.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any conversation, discussion? No, motion carries. Okay, so those are approved. Now we're gonna move forward. Yes?
Real quick, who seconded the motion?
It was
Me.
It was
Kelly, yes, Kelly Ross Johnson.
Thank you, Kelly Ross.
Your box moved. Someone must have fell off the meeting. Or got onto the meeting. All right, we're gonna move over to the next agenda item, which is meeting the new assistant superintendents for this school year. And Dr. Reynolds, I guess technically you're still new, although I don't feel like you're very new, but we hired Dr. Reynolds as the assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction back in July. He started July, like the first week in July, I think, right?
I want to say July 13th.
Yes, 2020 for the 2020-2021 that school year we hired him. And so he's here. And then we also have Lisa Raymond. Can you wave maybe? I don't know how people would see your square. And she is our new business official, assistant superintendent for business. And I'm gonna not know your start date for that. It was in December.
It was December 21st.
Okay, December 21st, 2020 still, but so
Yep.
new for the 2021 school year. And we want to ask Dr. Reynolds and Ms. Raymond to just talk a little bit, please, about what's going on, I guess, in your individual department for this new school year under this COVID situation.
Okay, Dr. Reynolds, you're gonna let women go first?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
yours.
there you go. So good evening, everybody. My name is Lisa Raymond, and I am the interim assistant superintendent for business. I began my career in finance and accounting as an accountant in 2 external accounting firms, nothing to do with school business, except that we did external audits. And through those external audits, I was very interested in what was happening in school business. I come from a small community in Sullivan County, which is in upstate New York, and I was encouraged to look into school business. After 2 years, I looked into getting my degree in school business administration, and I did after I got my certificate of public accountancy. And I became a school business official. And for the last 23 years, I'm in my 24th year of school business. I've worked in Sullivan, Orange, and Westchester counties. I began working in Greenburgh in 2020, and we're trying to present the budget. I'm working with all the administrators, Dr. Reynolds, Dr. Chase, in coming up something to present to the board. We are trying to do this with the state and everything that's going on there. So we're preparing the tax cap right now, and we have almost all of the components ready to present to the board and draft 1 of the budget. So I look forward to working with all of you and presenting what we can and, maximizing what we can for Greenburgh to make it the best that it can be in these pandemic times.
Thank you so much, Ms. Raymond. And you are I guess, one of the administrative liaisons for the Finance and Facilities Committee.
Correct.
David, do you know the date that you guys are meeting yet? I don't know, we might still be setting it up.
I have 3 different dates that I sent
Okay.
out to people. I'm trying, if BBS architects can make it at one point, it's the same time as the board members, the same time as the administrators, then, we're going for the best of the 3 dates. They're all mid to late January.
Okay, so I guess if anyone wants additional information about the finances and definitely the budget, and that budget process, they should definitely attend that meeting whenever you get those dates.
Exactly. And you know what? Anybody can contact me anytime they want, and we'll get what what they need, and if I don't know the information, I'll get it to them.
So can we have your email address in the chat so we can do that?
Oh, sure. Definitely. Definitely.
Okay, you're gonna put in the chat. I'm just gonna say it, I guess, verbally for those in the YouTube
Yes.
reverse. It's L Raymond, RAYMOND.
Right.
At greenburghcsd.org.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll get it in there.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Raymond.
It's kind of hard working with a laptop.
Are there any quick questions from our community, from our CEC committee, something that Ms. Raymond can answer quickly, just because we're on a short time schedule? And please note that she did say anyone can contact her and ask questions.
Anytime.
I do. I should raise my hand. Chris Vallon. I'm just curious, do you have, can you just talk a little bit about your past experiences with bond issues?
Oh, certainly. Let's see. The first school I worked with, we were merging with 3 other schools. So they were going to become one school district that is now called the Sullivan West School District. So that was Delaware Valley, Jeffersonville, Youngsville Central School District, and Narrowsburg. After that, I moved to Tri-Valley, and I did 2 or 3 bond projects there. Moved on to Valley Central, and we did 2 projects there. And then I went to Pecanico, and I just approved 3 bond projects there. I've done energy performance contracts, repairs and maintenance, and building construction. When through my career, I made sure I took the accounting courses through the New York State School Boards Association. When I went to Valley Central, they had 6 projects that were open, which meant that they were not getting building aid on. So when I went there with the treasurer, we did a forensic audit. We laid everything out, filed what was late so that they would get building aid. Because now, if you do not meet the deadlines, you won't get building aid. So I did the ABCs, it's called the ABCs of accounting, and to make sure that you file the timelines and the deadlines to make sure that you get building aid. You know what? It doesn't matter if you're getting 90% building aid, 5% building aid. Anything for building aid is something for the district, as well as capital outlay. Capital outlay right now for SED building is $100,000. If you do something and budget it in capital outlay for $100,000 and put it on your ST3 state aid, you will get 100% times your building aid in the next year. You don't have to wait for 18 months to go out. You know, as far as I'm concerned, anything that you can get from the state is pertinent. So I have always been up to date. We file our final cost reports, our they're called FS10s, etc., on file so that we meet our deadlines so you get your money. So you have to time your projects, your bond payments with SED so that you can not tax the taxpayers, but all right, you know what, I'm going to talk like as an accountant, but when you do a bond project, if it's going to take 3 years, and the first year, the second year, you do a band project, bond anticipation note, so that the taxpayers are just paying interest. As the project is going, you're not paying for the whole project until the third year. In the third year, you bond the project so that the payment for principal and interest will be pushed out another year, so that whatever was absorbed prior into the budget will be pushed out. So there's like nothing for the taxpayers to increase. So, Chris, yes, I have extensive knowledge in bond projects, in capital projects, in band projects, energy performance contracts, to make sure that the things that need to be done in the buildings in the district are done, but not impact the taxpayers.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think, I'm
Amy
guessing
has
this
her
is
hand
Amy
up.
Wang. Yeah, just, you can unmute and just speak. This is,
Oh, okay. Yes.
yeah.
Hi. Thank you very much for the explanation. I'm actually really excited about that. Not being an accountant, I think I understand. I think my question is along the line with Chris in terms of, I'm excited for your experience with bonds because I think a bond is needed in our district. And with your extensive experience, does that also mean you have extensive experience talking to the public and taxpayers? Because ultimately the bond has to go through a taxpayer vote, at least.
Yes, let me tell you, in my previous districts, we passed, well, my last district, we passed 3 projects with the budget vote during the pandemic. Prior to that, we did a huge project with the State Department of Transportation. Okay. What I mean by that is we needed New York State DOT approval to put in a traffic light. You would think, that's easy, that's simple. It wasn't. It was on not a major interstate, but it was on a major highway. Okay. We needed a traffic light between our high school and middle school and businesses across the street. We were really worried about kids, high school students, trying to run across, kids trying to run across the street, let me dodge traffic, that kind of thing. We were able to secure with New York State Department of Transportation for them to put in a traffic light at their expense, but we had to do construction at our cost. Okay, let us incorporate that into a bond project. And we were able to do that. It was over $19 million. And we were made efforts at 6 different campuses, but it helped us provide a thorough way. Okay, so yeah, I'm in this business. I'm in my 24th year, and I've only had 1 bond project that has failed. We have, you have to market it to the community. Obviously, sell it to the community and tell them why it is important to them, to their children, and I got to tell you, to the senior citizens, to those who don't pay taxes, why it's important to the community.
Thank you so much, Ms. Raymond. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to Dr. Reynolds. Can you tell us just a little bit about your department, what you guys are doing this year, and then we'll have a question or two from the committee.
Sure. Thank you very much, Madam Vice President. Firstly, let me start off by saying happy and healthy New Year to everyone here. Hoping that your holiday season was fantastic. Secondly, let me also begin by congratulating and welcoming formally my colleague, Ms. Raymond. Great
Thank
job.
you.
So this is about my 26th year in education. I started off in working in Mount Vernon as a teacher, and from Mount Vernon, I came to Greenburgh, where I spent most of my classroom career here. I'm very happy to be back home. You know, between the time of working in Greenburgh as a teacher and coming back in central administration, I've had a few different positions throughout Westchester County. I've had experience in all types of school districts, from a very small one like ourselves to one of the big five, working in capacity of assistant superintendent for human resource, for curriculum supervision and instruction, and now for curriculum instruction and personnel. I served as a building principal, a building assistant principal, and if I go way back, I was also a camp counselor, right? So having those experiences working with children is really my life work and my life calling, which is why I'm here now. My department is pretty vast. I oversee all of the directors that are curriculum based, along with working with Dr. Chase, of course, and the superintendent's office in overseeing all of the directors, the principals, making sure that everything is in place as it meets the needs of our students. I will have to tell you, in my time that I've been here since July, while my title is curriculum instruction and personnel, I feel like my major duty has been COVID czar. So that has been my wheelhouse most recently. And as we know, we're in for a second round. So I want everyone to prepare for that. What our main job is, though, is to really ensure that our instruction is meeting the needs of our students. And I would love to be able to say meeting the needs of our students and families, but I'll tell you sometimes, and I'm going to speak from an adult perspective, sometimes my needs aren't met. My desires might not be met, but what we have to do as a school district is ensure that we're putting into place something that's substantial, something that's viable, and something that is really connecting to our students. So while it may not be something that we would desire as an adult, it may not be something that we recall from our time in school, it has to meet the needs of our students in our current day. So we're trying to align all of our instruction to meet the needs of our students in this time of COVID. And it's on a day-by-day basis. So we might be back in school today, and that could change overnight. So I know Dr. Chase in the past has said, please be flexible. We'll remind you to please be flexible. That can change at any moment. Just a couple things that I would like for everyone to be aware of. Our next marking period for grades 4 through 12 starts on February 1st. So in the next coming days, you're going to see the reminder for our families who would like to come back into hybrid from remote. So please be prepared for that. That will give you about a week and a half or so to tell your principals if you're interested in coming back into remote. And again, remember that if your student, your child is in grades 4 through 12, and you decide to come into hybrid from remote, that will also apply for your child if you have a sibling in grades pre-K through 3, okay? But that gives us about a week to properly route the children on the bus, ensure that we have social distancing available and we don't overcrowd our buses. Another thing that I would like for you to be aware of is that as of right now, our requirement for the district has not really changed as it relates to quarantining. So if you are exposed to COVID, we are taking an abundance of caution. You're going to hear that repeatedly. I will state that I am not very pleased with the way that the Department of Health or with how the CDC is shifting dates and times as it relates to when you can come out of quarantine and things of that nature. It does not make for a prescription for success, in my opinion. So, and keeping in mind that that is a minimum threshold. So they've moved to 10 days of quarantine if you're asymptomatic, but you still have to really watch yourself for the additional 4. That is not very comfortable for us. So we want to ensure that our students, our staff, and our faculty and are safe. So we're going to ensure that there's a 14-day minimum unless you can provide to us a second PCR or rapid test after the 10-day mark. If you're asymptomatic, then we can consider you coming out of quarantine. But for the most part, we're going to rely on the 14-day threshold because if you look on the Department of Health website, that 14 days is still there, even though we've relaxed it a little bit in New York State. So those are two of the most important things that I wanted to share with you this evening, and I'm available for any questions you may have.
I see David's hand.
What employees are now able to get vaccinated?
Oh, great question. Thank you very much, Mr. Warner. So under I'm using the word cohort. I think that's not what they call it, but I can't remember. But under cohort 1A, our school nurses were able to receive the vaccination. So most of our school nurses, I believe, have signed up for the vaccination. That was expanded to our instructional personnel who work in our PPS programs. So our speech language pathologists, our special education pathologists, all of those personnel were included in 1A. Just recently, over the weekend, and beginning tonight at 4 p.m., vaccination was opened up to cohort 1B, which now includes all education workers. So if you are employed in the Greenburgh Central School District and you work directly with children or around children, you are able to sign up for the vaccination beginning this evening at 4 p.m. That information was sent out by Dr. Chase to our employees. And again, we have to keep in mind, it is not mandatory. It is recommended, but again, it is not mandatory by law. We cannot enforce it. So that information is available. And we do ask that you make these appointments on your time. I've already made my appointment on my time, and I will ask that the rest of my colleagues do the same.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Dr. Reynolds. And we could maybe take one more question. I see Jocelyn maybe his hand up. You can just,
Yes.
Yes, there
Thanks,
you go.
Tracy. Dr. Reynolds, hi. I think you just answered my question. You said it's not mandatory. So there will be no tracking. There will be no way of knowing whether we have 50% of the staff vaccinated or 100% or 0.
Thank you for that question, Ms. Evans. No, there will not be any tracking. We are not in an orange or a red zone yet where we have to guarantee a certain percentage of our students and staff are tested. This is all voluntary at this time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that was good for clarification. Thank you so much. Okay, Dr. Reynolds, thank you. We're kind of getting short on time. Is there anything else? Anyone have any pertinent, urgent questions they want to ask Dr. Reynolds while he's here? And I'm going to add that Dr. Reynolds, you are the administrator for the Education and Wellness Committee, correct?
That's correct.
And you guys will be having your own meeting as well. So if anyone has any additional education questions, they can contact you, right?
That's right. And my email address is C Reynolds, the letter C, and Reynolds as in Reynolds Wrap. I tell everybody I should be rich, at greenburghcsd.org. C Reynolds at greenburghcsd.org.
Thank you so much, Dr. Reynolds.
Welcome.
And next on our agenda, and we're so short on time, but I definitely think that this is important. David wanted to give a quick update. If you could do it in 3 minutes or less, that'd be great, on any national and state information that David did compile.
Oh, okay. Well, very briefly, I wanted to say one thing, and that's that Miguel Cardona is Joe Biden's appointee for his nominee for the education secretary, which means it's not Betsy DeVos, right? It's not. So then what that is going to mean? Okay, so he's going to be probably looking at the Every Student Succeeds Act renewal that's coming up. He also probably has the ability to determine whether or not federally they require the state testing to happen. So that's going to impact us as well. I know that he was a bilingual teacher. I think the president-elect said, I'm going to hire a teacher. He was a bilingual teacher. He became principal of the year at some point in the state of Connecticut. He then became an assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction, Dr. Reynolds. And from there, he became the commissioner of education for the state of Connecticut. He's done that for, I think, about a year. And boom, off to the federal government, assuming that the votes go as intended. So we may have a friend in terms of getting school funding, and the person should definitely have an influence. That's it.
Thank you so much, David. And I probably caught you off guard because I jumped around the agenda. So I'm sorry about that. Next on our agenda was actually communications. And Dr. Reynolds clarified that he taught first grade at Lee F. Jackson for 9 years as part of some of his teaching experience. Thank you, Dr. Reynolds. Under communications, we on the agenda we have Board of Education newsletters as well as Concordant communications, and we do have our Director of Concordant Communications here. Her name is Jackie Burton. She's not an administrator with the district, but she's a contracted employee. And I don't know, Antoinette, do you want to talk a little bit about Board of Education newsletters and communication and introduce Jackie to the committee?
Okay, yes. So again, Jackie Burton is the owner of Concordant Communications, and she helps the district do everything communication-wise. So Jackie, please feel free to unmute, share a little bit of what you do. Tracy, I think might be giving everybody 3 minutes or less.
Hi, Antoinette, can you hear me? I'm going through my cell phone and it's a little bit different visual here. So can you hear me?
We can hear you clearly. At least I can hear you clearly.
Wonderful. So I'll be as brief as possible. Thank you for the introduction. Yes, I am the communications consultant for the district. I have been since the beginning of the 2019-2020 school year. However, I took over this business from another person, Evelyn McCormick, who had been working with the district for several years prior to that, and she and I continue to work together. So it is a continued partnership, and we've gotten to know the district quite well. The goal for our ongoing communications is, certainly to share timely, urgent, relevant information, and never has that been more important than during COVID. But at the same time, to do our best to share the great ongoing work that is happening throughout the district. I certainly don't need to tell you, and probably anyone on this call, that the teachers are doing a fabulous job with ongoing innovation in curriculum, sustaining engagement for the students, particularly during this time of remote learning. There are many challenges, many of which are being overcome, and the education remains top notch. So, we want to try and tell those stories. We also have the budget vote coming up, so we will certainly assist with ongoing communication about the budget, certainly what this state mandates in terms of sending out information, but additionally, additional information, contextual information, to be sure that the community is informed. So I hope that is an adequate summary, and I'm certainly happy to add anything, Antoinette, if you think it needs, if I need to add, or take any questions that might come up.
I'm assuming there may be a question or two, and thank you for moving through your presentation, I would say quickly, Jackie.
Yeah, yes.
I'm sorry, it's Chris Valen. I'm just curious, can you just clarify what's under your purview? I think the Board of Education newsletters that go out, the Falconer, is Facebook. Can you just kind of run down everything you help manage as far as what goes from the district and that you coordinate?
Sure. So you may know that there are several fantastic people on staff. Steve Lewis, Laser, I think Laser Alert might be on this call, and others who are in district and manage a great deal as it relates to technology, website updates, video, etc. Our job is primarily to provide strategic counsel on the content that needs to be covered or that we recommend be covered. And then we do a good deal when it comes to writing, particularly for the newsletters. So the new Board of Education updates, brief updates that are coming out, of course, the BOE, that's their voice and what they want put in there, and we help as needed to articulate that. And then for the Falconer, we'll do some of the, investigative reporting, if you will. So we'll talk to, the head of the IB program or the athletic director, et cetera, and try and not try and come up with those stories. Social media is a little bit of a mixed bag. It's a little tougher these days because with coronavirus, we can't be in the schools nearly as much, getting those photos and having those relationships with the teachers. So we're relying a little bit more on those in the schools, but we do contribute to social media content as well.
Thank you.
Sure.
Antoinette, do you want to talk at all, or do you have anything to add, I guess, about the board newsletters that are going out? They are new this year.
Yeah, they are new this year. I actually have served on the communication committee for several years. And I remember Evelyn used to say the board needs a newsletter, needs something. She sent me something that other school districts have been doing.
Yeah.
So finally, I said, okay, let's do something. Pretty much the board newsletters just to share any additional information, like the one that came out last week, I believe, or the week before. I mean, pretty much we had a short thing in there about Tracy and I participating on the IB teams meeting. It was a smaller closed meeting as they checked in with our district, so we participated in that. So there's a little blurb about that. There's a little blurb about, and also with links too, which I think is important, about advocating for funding in regards to our state, government. So you'll always see something a little bit in there, but it'll just happen a few times a year, just to provide some updates here and there to our community. The goal is, and Jackie knows because I say this all the time to her and Evelyn, definitely do not want to duplicate any stories elsewhere, but just wanted to share a little bit of something from the board here and there throughout the year. So I don't see it happening more than a few times. I would say that about the board newsletters. Tracy, do you want me to add anything else? Give any other updates? I can't do that now, or
No, not necessarily, because we're running short on time. Unless anyone on the committee has any questions about the board newsletter, board communications, etc.
I just want to take a moment to commend you for the newsletters. I think they're great. I think they're well presented and well written. If I have a wish to put out there for, 5 years from now, when we all hopefully are running at a less crazed pace, my wish would be that the board have its own letterhead or own version of a visual cue that this newsletter comes from the board, because especially right now, the superintendent's office is usually communicating something parents need to know, which is different and no less important, but different than what the board is communicating, which is different than my principal communicates. It would be really helpful as a wish list. Really, I get it, but a wish list that each administration have its own visual cue for the official letters that they send. But that my sandwich is excellent job. Please incorporate that eventually, but really, truly, truly, truly excellent job. The communication is stellar. Thank you.
No problem. I guess my question is when you get it, because I'm now on the list that families get communication wise. I believe it should say in the subject line of the email, but also it should say on the top banner, I believe that it's from the Board of Education. Do you see that, or you just want something?
Yeah, no, it does. But I can tell you that the Greenburgh, for me personally, as a parent with kids in multiple schools, the Greenburgh CSD email address, no matter who it's attached to, is my red flag that I need to open this and read this and deal with something that pertains to my children. But because I have 2 sets of administrators, plus the board, plus the superintendent's office, I could really use a visual cue to just know which part of my brain is going to focus on this particular letter.
All right, thank you. Laser, you heard that, right? So we'll be coming to you and Miguel and Evelyn and Jackie for
that's
sort of help with that.
Excellent feedback, and I completely get it. So that's very well received. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to clarify, Samantha, I mean, because the email does have a header that Miguel created. It says, Board of Education right at the top of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
But you're saying that what exactly do you need?
So what I'm looking for, I'm always just looking to up the game, right? I think that I'm trying to pull one up so I can, it's buried. My point is that we've done this. It's a great move. If we're going to up the game, I would love to have more of a visual. What I want specifically is a graphic so that I don't have to read the words that say this comes from the Board of Ed. Because I'm more concerned about the words that are in that letter, because those letters are all very important. I want to skip to them, and I just need a graphic so that my brain knows where to file it.
So I want to echo Samantha's point of view. I do think, as well as the emails from the schools, you may have multiple kids in multiple schools, plus there's communications from the superintendent, which are urgent. I know you said they're equally as urgent. I'm going to say they're more urgent because I get more anxiety, is for lack of a better term, when I see, alert coming up. I don't know if that means there's an issue with the school. We've had cases where we had to close and I have to find childcare quickly. So those things are, so I'm going to echo what you're saying, Samantha. It is more anxiety producing, for lack of a better term. And I don't think it's a bad idea. I mean, we take Board of Ed photos, although with this COVID situation, we don't really have like a nice group photo anymore, but maybe having something like, I think someone put in the chat, a thumbnail photo or something that could be different, that would help.
And we use iconography sometimes to emphasize what type of story it is, whether it's about social emotional learning, whether it's about facilities, not necessarily in Greenburgh, but I've seen this done in places. So I think we could work together to explore a simple icon or, visual prompt that does what you're talking about. I don't think that's a big lift.
Hi, this is Jocelyn Evans. I don't think I've received this Board of Education newsletter. I have not seen it.
The last one went out last Tuesday at 8 p.m. because I remember we were in a board meeting.
Yeah, no.
And I don't think I've received it either.
A text or an email?
So I believe Laser knows that everyone, I guess, who signs up, is it School Messenger, Laser?
Yeah. If you're a parent, it's automatically added. I could take a look at. You guys can continue on. I'll take a look at for Jocelyn's information.
Thank you.
David too. David, did you sign up for it as well?
Yeah, make sure I'm in there because I wouldn't. Right. My child has just gotten out of college, so.
So you might not be on the parent list anymore?
Might not be on that parent list.
Just another quick thing. Whatever happened to the calendar? Are we ever going to get another physical calendar or no?
Honestly, I don't know if Dr. Reynolds or someone might want to say that. I'm not really sure. I know that even before COVID, we had minimized the amount of calendars that will go out. And with COVID, sending any additional items to pick up in touch, I think that we've moved away from that, especially during COVID times now. I can only assume that as time goes on and things get better, maybe that will change.
I think there is a copy on the website.
Right. So if I may, you're absolutely correct, Madam President and Trustee Warner. We decided not to reprint the calendar because the COVID effect will affect our calendar periodically throughout the year. Number one. Number two, due to budget concerns, we didn't want to reproduce a calendar and have to make changes again. So we continually make updates to our electronic calendar.
Okay, and on that note, Dr. Reynolds and Ms. Raymond, I don't want to keep you guys all night. I mean, we're gonna hopefully get through our agenda soon, but you guys have been working since the morning as well. So if, unless anyone objects, I want to let the two of them go from the meeting.
Yes, please get some rest. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good evening.
You too. Thank you too for coming. So to quickly try to move through the agenda, I did put on the agenda the 5 W's of the GCSD 5-year strategic plan. And the reason why I put that up there is because we've been asked several times at board meetings about the direction of the district, the plan, the 5-year strategic plan. One of the community members even kind of said that we were doing the strategic plan behind closed doors, which was absolutely not true. But I do want to address it here because I think this is at least the first step to reaching the community. And I think we should get the correct information out there. I know, Antoinette, you addressed this in one of our board meetings, but I don't know if everyone was there or everyone saw. So I definitely want to address it here. I'm going to try to go quick again because we're out of time. So what is the 5-year strategic plan? If you look on our website, under, you have to go under board, I believe. And I think if you scroll all the way to the bottom, there is a tab there and it lists our strategic plan goals. And it's basically a framework for the goals that the school district has that they're trying to achieve over the next 5 years. And we had 5 focus areas. Update district facilities and technology, expand stakeholder engagement, align and articulate curriculum, stabilize leadership, and fiscal stability and efficacy. And between 2016 and 2021, which is now, we wanted to achieve those 5 goals. Now that it's 2021, the end of this school year, I guess I will defer to Antoinette as the board president to talk about when, but the end of this school year, I believe we're going to try to consolidate another 5-year strategic plan for the next 5 years, which would be 2021 through 2026. So I don't know if you want to say exactly when we will.
Sorry, Tracy, before you go to Antoinette. So Antoinette, when you speak, I'm just asking in reference to the 5-year plan that we had. When do we summarize and see when did we meet any of those goals? Were we effective in any areas? So I'm just wondering, when you talk, if you could let us know when we'll get that as a community. How well did we do on those 5 years?
That's a great question. Okay. So Antoinette, can you talk about, I guess, when we would do that? And before you hit the when, I don't want to miss the who. The community is a part of this plan. So 2016, I was not on the board. I was a parent, a community member. I don't know if I volunteered or someone asked me, but I came into the meetings. We had several meetings. I think there were 3 separate meetings, and we developed a whole plan. It's board members, community members, parents.
You're doing a very good job of talking about it on your own, Tracy. So
okay, well, you just tell me when, and then maybe answer Kiana's question about assessments. How do we know that we did a good job or we didn't, or do we need to do this goal again and alter it? That would be helpful.
I think it's been mentioned at a couple of meetings before. The board did begin to have just initial discussions about, hey, we need to do this again. So we do need to do it again. So it is our intention to do that. At this time, I think what we have put out there is how are we going to do it this time? Were we going to do it the same same way with a consultant like we did before, who was there to guide board, staff, our community as a whole through the whole process. It was a very interesting, I was a part of it too. It was very inclusive, very interesting process, how the community and everyone in our GCSD community came together and developed those strategic goals. My thought is that will happen, at least, I don't see a board saying, hey, you know, we only want it to just be us. It was a very fruitful process to go through. So I'm going to assume that when the board discusses and finalizes when it will happen and how it will happen, that it will be inclusive of our community. Like I said, we have talked very briefly about it. We have to make decisions. Are we going to hire a new consultant? We have to look at budgetary matters in regards to that, but getting a consultant and I'm just one person. I lean towards a consultant, someone that really is going to guide us into how we gather our community together and take all of that information and develop new strategic, our 5-year strategic plan. So we will definitely have to get back to you. It needs to be on one of our agendas, and we need to get some sort of, usually we get Ivy to do some research and help us out with finding a consultant to kind of lead the way. And so she'll do that, let us know like who's out there, what they offer, how much do they offer the work to do with us. So we just have to do some more research on our own to figure out who, what, where, and how much this is going to cost.
How much?
That is definitely a focus for us.
Okay. I want to really quickly, Antoinette and David, you guys are next on the agenda again, because I would like, Madam President, if you could talk about the superintendent search update in like 3 minutes or less. And David, if you could talk about any facilities update that can be really brief, because we do have a facilities committee that people can attend to get
Let's let David go first. Let's put the pressure on David.
Okay. All right, David, you have all of these buildings really quick.
Okay, so we have a building conditions survey on the website under departments facilities, and it says that we have about $89 million worth of things that need to be fixed over the course of 5 years for our facilities. We added something recently, a little block to the side for each building that says facility expense. And that gives you the prioritized list of what you would do in priority 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in terms of what's most important to do first. As a result of that, we can go ahead and invite the architects in later in the month and schedule what we're going to do with the limited funding we have and the limited bonding ability in this economy to fix what we can. I'm going to give you a brief rundown of what I know about that's happened to the facilities over the holidays, or at least where things are now. The Early Childhood Center, of course, is closed due to ventilation issues. The BCS Building Condition Survey lists $575,000 of ventilation items. Other than that, there's a new flag on order, but it's going to sit there for a while. Lee F. Jackson, all is well. Custodians painted the new nurses' room over the holidays. Highview, Blacktop was repaved over the holidays to fix the van turnaround area that used to collect water. Additional security cameras were installed in the halls. ECP offices have a lot of equipment and are a little too warm, so we probably need a fan. Otherwise, all is well. RJ Bailey, over the holidays, we completed some brick pointing and cut branches on the playground. We'll confirm the success of the latest roof patch after the next rainstorm. Rooms are warm enough, except 2 with that radiator problems. They're being fixed now. Fans can be turned off when the students aren't present, and that helps to maintain the temperature. There's an expanded car wash next door to RJ Bailey. Legal is checking on whether they're going to put the trees back up and put the buffer back in place. That's a foil to the town. We'll see what we get. Woodlands fire inspection is complete, and proper extension cords have been put in place. I guess some of them were too short or too long. Classrooms now have buckets of sanitizer wipes, in addition to existing hand sanitizer dispensers and disinfectant spray bottles. The administration building, the mansion, the roofing project is still awaiting SED approval. The latest document submission was October 20th, which they have 8 to 10 weeks to finish response and go back and forth with us. So sometime in January, we should try and get approval. Teacher Center, I have nothing to report. Bus garage, nothing to report. The caretaker's house, a large tree chunk fell on a fence. The fence that goes into like an area of bushes next to the golf course. We need to take care of it. The dumpster that was out front of the house is gone now. Demolition has been authorized. It has not yet begun. The electric lines are still attached. That's where we're at. Questions?
Thank you so much, David. Any questions from anyone about the very quick facilities update? Okay. I heard someone. No? Okay. So then we're going to move on to Antoinette, superintendent search update, please.
Okay, everybody, real quick. I know I talked about this a little bit at our board meeting. So our application deadline has already passed. We had, I believe, a little over 30 applications. The board in the next couple of weeks will be, if you remember the time, let me say this, the timeline is actually also on our website. So if you haven't seen it, please go to the board page and you'll find access to the timeline. But there is a timeline there. And in the next couple of weeks, the board will be reviewing profiles of the candidates that that Ray and Associates have vetted so far. I believe their profile that they're going to build, I believe that they have some videos that candidates have recorded, and they responded to, I think, like 3 questions. So that profile that the boards will get will be resumes, referrals, recommendations, videos, and any background searches that they had to do that type of information. So that's something that the board will be looking at in a few weeks or so, I believe. Sorry, guys, I just got to get to my calendar. I believe it's the last week of
26th.
January. Yeah, the last week of January, the 26th, that the board will be going through that. What that will then do is we'll whittle down the amount of people that they will present to the board. It could be, depending on how great the candidates are, it could be 7 to 15, 16. It really depends. But the board will then whittle that amount down, and then we will, sorry guys, we'll whittle that information down to a smaller group. That smaller group will then be whittled down again. The community will have the opportunity to pose questions and actually participate in a live, I believe, YouTube meeting where they will be able to see all of the questions that the community has shared and posed. The Ray and Associates will coordinate that along with probably Ivy Krause. And there also will be an impression survey. They will share also with the community, because as the community is watching and viewing these candidates respond to questions, they will be able to, the community will be able to have further communications and their thoughts shared with something that is called the impression survey. The board will get to see what those results are of the impression survey as well. And then the board will be the last people to meet, but we will definitely, well, I think we're definitely looking forward to moving forward with the process, seeing what candidates are out there, and having our community participate as well. I'm not really sure specifically how it will be gathered, but I know that Ray and Associates is still working on their communications and how we need to reach out to our communications to gather all the questions that they would like to be asked. Just like anybody who's been on any hiring committee throughout the district, it's sort of the same way. Questions will be posed. It will be the same exact question posed for each candidate. It's really important to do that. And you'll get to hear all those responses. I will say it's very interesting. It's going to be very interesting because I always am looking and doing a lot of research. And despite the fact that COVID is happening, there are several districts that also are undergoing superintendent searches as well. I spoke to a couple of people. Nyack has, Port Chester has, Lakeland, Pleasantville is doing theirs in the next fall. So there's a lot of, I guess, competition out there as well. That's all I have.
Thank you so much, Antoinette. So I think we've made it almost to the end of our agenda. I do have some answers to the past meeting questions that we posed at the end of every CEC meeting. Usually the committee asks several questions and we try to get answers for you as needed. But before we go there, I want to be able to clarify our meeting, our committee. How do we join the committee? How do we get into the Zoom meeting? All of this kind of come up, and I see Antoinette's hand there, so I want to let you go ahead before.
I only put my hand up because there were, I think, questions or comments in the chat. So okay. I want to say, yes, it doesn't have any specific timelines because everything is really fluid. I think now that the applications have closed and as they go through and finalize candidates, like the first thing is because they're still going through and sorting through all the applications, but because that portion of it stopped, they were able to say, board, we need to meet with you in this sort of time frame. And I think once the board gets to whittle it down, we'll be able to keep updating the community about when things are going to take place. So that is there. And I think Tiana and Amy had something about the previous thing about the strategic plan and those how we have done. I know that for the board is something that I know I've asked for, I think last year, and we have been getting them these reports. Right now, I believe we had asked for pre-COVID for them to take place once a month. I think they're now taking place like 4 times a year, and they're just updating us on all the different areas, all of the programs is something that the board as a whole we requested. So because we get that data, we should be able to have a year-end data of that and share that with the community. Thank you, Tracy. I'm sorry.
Yes, no problem. Thank you for answering those questions in the chat. So let's go back to our community. So this year we merged committees. We merged our communications committee with our community engagement committee. And we're in COVID. So with those two variables, lots of things had to change. So for example, we didn't even have our first committee meeting until November, when we normally have our meetings right off the bat. Even in August, I think we have our first meeting by history. Normally meetings are in person, they're open, you can come in as a community member, just like our board meetings. You present yourself at a board meeting, you write down your address, although people usually don't do that because we usually know each other by sight, and you write down the topic you're going to talk about. People can come right into our CEC meeting. Usually, you know someone in the room. We go around, right, David? You introduce yourself. I know I call on David because he was the chair of CEC for many, many years before I got onto the board. And it was always very much the same. You would go around, you would introduce yourself, kind of someone didn't know you, they ask, oh, whereabout do you live? Oh, I live over here. And you meet your fellow community. It's very engaging, community engagement. There were even times people would host a meeting in their home called the cottage meeting, which was also very awesome. People opened their homes for the rest of the community to come and have a meeting. Now we're online. Now it's different. Now, one of our other committees, the education committee, actually got Zoom bombed, where we believe it was possibly kids, teenagers, but where someone came in and made a lot of racial comments and lewd comments to one of our employees. right in the middle of a committee meeting that was taped. We obviously had to stop that meeting and address that, as well as report that to the police. So we can no longer just, throw out Zoom IDs and passwords. However, this is community engagement. So how do we engage the community, make sure, whoever wants to join can join, and whoever wants to be involved can be involved, while still protecting, the information enough so it doesn't get out to kids or anybody who wants to be cruel. Does anyone have any ideas? I'm open. I'd love to be able to put it on the site, but we can't really do that.
Tracy?
And I see David's hand up with some ideas.
Okay.
So someone, can I just answer this one question before?
Yes, go ahead.
We're going to go into a different direction. So I think Amy posted here, did anything happen from that hateful Zoom bombing, and did we report it to the police? We did report it to the police, and I haven't heard any follow-up. I don't know, Antoinette or David, if you guys heard any.
Tanya shared some feedback, maybe not this, I think the December meeting, I believe, that she did call to follow up to get some additional information. I don't remember specifically, but I don't think she had any specifics. I believe they were still trying to see if they can find them electronically some way, somehow.
They talked about IP addresses. The problem is whether the IP addresses are dynamically assigned or whether they're out of a pool from a carrier, or are they specific to the individual person. And they also had some possible face recognition stuff going on, because you actually saw some people during part of it. Some of it was just writing, but some of it you actually saw people. So you can do face recognition off that.
Yeah, but ultimately, was there a resolution, like anyone arrested or like?
I haven't heard anything like that.
No, no, unfortunately. But I definitely think maybe we should circle back and ask the police if there's any update. That's, I think, the least that we can do. I can maybe present that, ask Trustee Dragic if she would feel comfortable doing that. Okay. And does anyone else have any? Oh, sorry, David, you had feedback.
Yeah. Okay. So I had started to make a suggestion, and I think Laser, I started to talk to Laser about this before the meeting. I think he said, no, your idea, it takes too much effort. So then we need to, I'll share my idea so you can make a counter proposal or whatever needs to happen. So my initial thought was, we have a list of a couple of hundred email addresses from previous years on the CEC. And all those addresses came from people who have attended CEC meetings, and no one in any CEC meeting in all the years I've been on it has ever done anything terrible. So I think that anybody there could be grandfathered in. I think that, and allowed. So you're not going to say, here, anyone with the link can use this. But if you have a link and and you have one of these approved email addresses, and I think that list of email addresses could be imported. Then the second thing you could do is, since we allow anybody from the community to sign up in advance for a board meeting and speak at the board meeting, if new people come and request in advance to be on the CEC list, then we can take that, and as long as we have that information, I guess it's a day in advance we require for the board meetings, then we can use that as well. And so you've taken care of the people who already been around, and you've taken care of the people who are new and want to come in.
Well, David, just know every time, I can't remember the last meeting, but I thought it was I don't know if it was a certain amount or whoever was there. Just remember, like, each time that we do add someone, we have to have a resolution to approve it. Because that's what we've been,
but that's to vote.
Have been using to vote. Yes.
That's to vote. I don't care. Anybody can show up at a meeting, just as anybody can show up at this meeting. They could talk, but they can't vote. That's what the membership really means.
Right.
So the only issue with that is that means we then have to count. So, for example, we voted to, I don't know, accept the minutes. So who's going to count? Does anyone want to be a sergeant at arms to actually count the voters to make sure? And everyone would then also probably need to have their camera on to show that they're voting, which is fine. I'm fine if we're going to do that, but then does everyone want to agree to that?
If it is a in the rare instances, because the CEC doesn't make a lot of recommendations, we pretty much ask questions, and anybody can ask a question. If
Yes.
you wanted to make a recommendation, some of the other committees, make very specific recommendations. CEC generally doesn't do that, so I don't think it's that much of a problem, and when we could handle it if we need to.
Okay, and so I see Chris's hand. You were raising your hand, Chris?
Yeah, sorry. I'm glad you addressed this first, Tracy. This was my main concern coming in today. I appreciate your suggestions, David. I also agree this committee rarely votes on anything substantive. We bring up issues that we'd like the board to be aware of most often. My one thing that I'd like to point out, in addition to David's suggestions, which I recommend, this committee meeting wasn't on the calendar. So even people who wanted to watch a live stream don't know it's there unless they have the YouTube notification set up. So it's a little frustrating that people didn't even have the opportunity to email yourself or David, if they remember from last year, or Laser to try to attend. So if we could just make it a point to post this meeting at a minimum on the website. And then I know the board newsletters you were mentioning earlier are only planned to go out maybe every few months, like let's say 4 times a year, but maybe every other month could be just a post, bullet points of the committee meetings for February or on these dates, so that people who might want to be aware and watch them on YouTube or try to attend. And I don't think that needs
in the beginning, no, that's very helpful. In the beginning of the year, I think, Antoinette, you asked for everyone to send their committee meeting dates to Ivy. But that was in the very beginning of the year, before I think any committees had even set
that
their
was
date.
done.
So yeah, but you asked that, I think even more than once. So I think maybe we can circle back and ask everyone on the board to have the committee members send their information to Ivy. Antoinette, can you clarify, is it Ivy or, and Laser's on the call, is it Ivy or you, Laser, that would have to update, whether it be the calendar or the web page or both? Who
for the board,
it's
Ivy and I usually do like a tag team.
Okay.
She sometimes gets it first because she gets the information from you guys first.
Okay.
And if she's like tied down with something, then I jump in.
Okay, so then
but either or, it's fine. It doesn't, yeah.
Okay, so I will send an email to Ivy with specific directive requests to put it on the calendar and our webpage. And should I CC you, Laser, or do you want to wait to hear from Ivy?
No, you can copy it. That's fine.
Okay.
Yep.
So I don't know if like a phrase could be added that would say, if you'd like to attend the meeting to be able to ask questions, please email X person, and to attend as a non-voting participant. So it's clear that they can ask questions, raise issues, but not have voting rights if anything happened to come up. The other question I had related to this, as far as involving the community, is did we do any outreach to civic organizations to see if they wanted to have a representative join the committee officially, or at least attend?
So we talked about that briefly. I believe that's one of the questions from the last meeting that we're going to address. How do we, and this was going to be an agenda item, but then I tried to slash the agenda because of time and we're already over time again. But how do we actually do community engagement in this COVID environment? Now, the civic associations were on that 200 plus email list. We did email them. I did not hear back from any of them. I don't know if any of you who live in different civic associations heard from or spoke to any of your civic associations about it, but I did not hear back from them at all. I don't know how the civic associations are running right now, being that it's COVID. Mine is kind of down. I haven't heard anything from them lately. So, I mean, I can do another email push to the 200.
I would advocate that before.
But I don't know who is actually the Civic Association people versus not. So that's one of the things that came up. How are we going to compile that list? Who's going to compile that list, etc. Sorry, Chris, go ahead.
I think, and I'm sorry I interrupted as per usual. I think at a minimum, before budget time, because people will then be wanting to be more involved in meetings, most likely, that we do one more push, whether it's with David's gigantic email list or a combination of, I know Liz had, I think, a document that was from the town. I don't remember exactly, Liz, as far as the organizations, but I think we should just do one more invitation to everyone before budget time. Thank you. Sorry to.
I got that list from Garrett Duquesne and then passed it on to Ivy. And that's kind of what happened there. And Garrett Duquesne actually didn't want to actually come to any meetings, but he wanted to be on the distribution list. And that's what I previously did. You know, he got it in the CEC. I'm sometimes sending him stuff from the facilities, well, FinFac now, Finance and Facilities Committee.
Okay, we just have to move really quickly. So I see a bunch of people's blue. So I don't know, anyone can jump in when they're ready.
I'm going to just jump in because what I have to say echoes Chris mostly, but what I want to suggest is that you have this tool of the board email blasts and your newsletter outreach, and you have a mailing list there. And I think best practices, or maybe what our parents might be used to because it's what the PTA requires, is at least 10 days before a meeting, you have to send an email or somehow post on social media or something that says there's a meeting coming up, please come. And it's that please come that's really vital. And then because we're in the world of Zoom, it's please come, email us, return this email for the Zoom link. And then you have a personal invitation to those people. So the Zoom information is never posted. It's personal, person to person, but it's from that 10 days out invitation. And that can go out to the broad community, but we all know this email community organizing doesn't really work. So maybe it's up to us on the committee to call our civic association leaders or the people we know and say, the email just went out, meetings in 10 days. You want to send somebody, I can help you connect to get that Zoom link. I think it really has to be person to person, and I think we can all help with that. But I think everything, you know, David, the audit committee needs a couple of volunteers. There are a lot of ways that people need to get involved, and email blasts are great and we should keep doing them, but we should also utilize each other to make sure that people know they have the invitation. And then we have to have a way to bring them in. YouTube is fine, but sitting on the YouTube and watching and listening is not like being in the Zoom and getting to ask the questions. I think you're right. There aren't enough votes to stress about that part of it. I think that can be managed. I think having people in the committee is more important, or, you know, having people in the committee meetings, to my mind, is more important.
I will say, I'm sorry, were you done, Sam?
Thank you, I'm done.
I will say, I was sold on everyone anyone can have the link to just be in the meeting, ask questions. They don't necessarily vote until hearing it a couple of times. You know why? Because in my head, and maybe I'm just, I get up early, maybe I'm tired, but in my head, I see how many people on this screen right now? 16 people. I think when Dr. Reynolds was here, it was a little bit more, but it was on one screen. I've been in meetings, at least I think we had a reopening meeting or something that had like almost 100 people in it and you had to toggle screens. I'm not sure how overwhelming and, for lack of a better term, nuts our meeting would get the more pages we have. You guys are our committee. What if we do get a meeting with 60 people, for example, and how do I hear from the committee members, and how do we count votes if we're having to toggle screens? That can get a little crazy.
Yeah,
that just
Tracy,
hit me when you were saying that.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, and I'm not meaning to cut you off. I'm just meaning to, like, if we're sitting over coffee and both talking at the same time, it's friendly. That's just manipulating Zoom to your advantage. If you have 100 people, you ask everybody to turn their camera off, except for maybe the committee members, because then our camera, you know, there are ways to manipulate this media to our advantage. And
that's helpful.
Yeah.
So just the camera people end up on that first page?
Yeah. Yeah, if
Oh,
your
I didn't
camera's off,
even
you
know
get
that.
bumped. Mhm.
I had no idea.
And
That's
for the
great.
sake of YouTube, I'm watching it
That's
now. Only
helpful.
those of us with our cameras on are even showing
Yeah.
up on YouTube. Everyone else is bumped. It's the same kind of thing.
I had no
But
idea.
yeah, there
Thank
are
you.
ways to work. You're welcome. There are ways to work the media to
There's
our
also
advantage.
speaker
Yeah.
view.
Okay, that
Yeah.
assuages my concern. Okay, who's next? Who wants to go next?
Did you hear what Laser said? Tracy, did you hear what Laser said?
Is it Sarah? Is Liz? The both of you are here.
Tracy.
You didn't hear what Laser said?
Oh no, what did Laser say?
Go ahead, Laser.
There's also speaker view.
Yes, I have speaker view, but then if we, for example, if we have, well, we don't vote that often, but if the committee, I want to put a preference on the committee members who attend all the time, who are committed to our committee to be able to speak up. How do I see, if there's multiple pages? But I like that idea of the camera people on the first page. I think that's pretty helpful. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of how you set the tone in the beginning of, those who are not speaking, turn off your cameras or something like that.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So who is next?
I'll go. I just wanted to echo that I agree. We want to engage as many people as we can. If we had 60 people come, that would be amazing from my perspective. So I don't see it as a problem. And I think if we are actually voting on something more consequential than minutes, then we can get someone to actually do the counting. I don't think that'll be an issue. So I'm all for it. And I was also going to say, if we can advertise it also via social media more. I know Friends of Greenburgh Schools does a lot of, hey guys, there's a committee meeting, but it would be great if it actually came from the board or from Greenburgh in some way too.
Well, I don't think the board has social media. Where did Antoinette go? I don't see her picture anymore.
I'm sorry, I'm here. I'm starving, so I'm eating. So that's what I'm doing.
Sorry.
I am here. As far, the board, we don't have social media. I feel like we have a lot of Greenburgh Central School District as a whole, social media. It has been brought up to have something separate. In my opinion, I honestly think that.
Can I just? I think.
Go ahead.
I know we talked about. I think you guys really need. I know we brought it up that the distribution list. I know we brought up pricing and everything, but I think you guys probably really need that. Just to kind of, because it separates you from the school in a sense that you have this platform that's just board related. I think that people that want the information will sign up, and you could hit them as many times, and I don't think they won't care how many emails they get because they signed up for it. But I think you need that platform. It's something that you really should look into. And it'll probably answer or solve a lot of these questions that everyone's asking, because it's a specific platform for the board.
Yeah, that came up last time, so maybe that's something we need to address from the communications point of view. I'll make sure that that's on the next agenda.
All right, thank you guys for the feedback.
And there were just 2 questions on that. Why can't the board I guess we could use the Greenburgh CSD social media. We don't normally, but who manages that, Antoinette?
Laser will probably know that more than me, but I believe
Currently
that's
Miguel and myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're doing everything, Laser.
Yeah.
Yes, he is.
So Miguel and Laser, I believe, I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure that the Concordant is supposed to have access to that as well.
Yeah, I think Evelyn does.
We just lost someone. Okay, so maybe that's just us to think about. There's also a suggestion, which is not a bad suggestion, a board newsletter blast at the start of every month with just bullet points on meeting dates. That's not a bad idea either. I think the first step is what we said earlier, that all committees get their dates into Ivy again. I don't know if we can maybe all do that. Some committees don't actually have dates up. I know, David, you talked about your committee is still toggling through 3 different dates. I know the education committee meeting is still working out dates. I want to call it the COVID effect, because I think it's just because we're not in person, we're not able to coordinate as easily, got to email everyone.
My committee wanted to have meetings every 2 weeks instead of monthly, and but then they wanted certain people to attend the meetings, and therefore, while we were trying to arrange that, okay, the whole monthly thing didn't work for us. So, and the audit committee, of course, same deal. It's event driven rather than calendar driven.
Yeah.
We figure out when the audits are, set our goals for that, and then you set up the meetings based upon when the audit's done. And if you can't get in the building because of COVID, right.
So that idea is actually very good and organized, but are we going to have the dates for every meeting at the beginning of it?
I'll make multiple submissions. As I know about each date, I'll submit it.
Yeah. Okay. So that's an idea.
Tracy?
Antoinette, yes?
Real quick, I think what would be helpful also, as far as like from this committee, even if you just shoot an email, I'm very curious to see in our community's heads, what sort of information you would like to come out from the board. Like if we did have, I don't know, our own, I can't think, a Facebook account or Instagram account or something like that. What if you don't have to say it here, you could put it in a chat. Maybe we can copy and paste it elsewhere, something so that I can see, and I want to really see that it is in a way differentiated from what comes out already, because I really, really would like to not duplicate anything. So that, I think that would be helpful if you guys could put something out there of what sort of information you would look for. So I can kind of, like the board as a whole, we can kind of think about what our social media platform would be, what would make the most sense. I would appreciate that.
Okay, thank you guys so much. So we do have to move on. I think, Liz, you had your hand up. You were being patient.
Oh, yep. Sorry. It was just kind of what we were speaking about earlier. If we do end up having our event at the library, we've been doing online registration since March, and we've been, knock on wood, pretty lucky about not having Zoom bombs. And originally we did just put the links out there, but a lot of other organizations we had heard of had been having Zoom bombs as well. So just having that extra step of having to register for something and then go through that step and receive the Zoom link and everything, even just that, we've noticed has been a deterrent towards having Zoom bombers. So that has worked, at least from the library perspective. Now I jinxed it, but and depending on what kind of Zoom account that you guys are using, there is also a webinar mode version, which I know we're just getting at the library, which is an upgrade, I think, to one of our pro accounts, which also allows more restriction of who is seen and who can speak. So that might be an option as well. I don't know if you guys have access to it, but I can look a little bit more into it and see how our account works and what the features are. But I know it, at least, like, you can limit it to having a specific amount of panelists. So if you wanted to make it so that you could have it for just, say, the board members that were seen, it can limit, like, if you're recording, it can limit the faces that are being recorded, or you can determine whether or not chats are being recorded. I haven't had a chance to play around with it yet because we just got it like this year. So I can always play around with that too, if that's something that wanted to be explored.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna just move us on to the next item, which are answers to the community's questions from the last meeting. I'm gonna try to read really fast. Someone requested that the calendar was up. I believe, Laser, you took care of that during the last meeting. that the physical calendar PDF file also be on the website. So that's there, I believe. A suggestion that we send out an email recruiting community members. We talked about that as well tonight. A suggestion that we cease in-person instruction for the end of December. That's kind of moot. We were closed until January 11th, which is today when schools reopened. A suggestion that we distribute safety tips to reduce the spread of COVID-19 at family gatherings. Dr. Chase answered these questions, by the way. She said that we will distribute tips for the subsequent extended breaks. When Woodlands Middle High School recently went to full remote instruction, there were non-instructional personnel reassigned to other schools instead of being quarantined. Was that true? Dr. Chase said yes. Some staff were reassigned. A request that PLC and other district staff meetings be held remotely instead of in person. Dr. Chase said we will take this under consideration when we are in school for in-person hybrid instruction. Meetings already take place virtually when we are fully remote. A request for an update on the Legionnaires test results following our blocking off contaminated plumbing. Dr. Chase said all schools have tested negative for Legionnaire. Reports are posted under the facilities page. We asked all facilities leaders at each school to please run the water and conduct appropriate flushing during the extended break as preventative measures. There were questions about whether all temperature kiosks at our schools are still functioning. As of today, the temperature kiosks, are functioning at all schools. There is one kiosk down at Woodlands Middle High School. Question about whether a large number of touch-free hand sanitizer stations at RJ Bailey and other schools are still functioning. We did not get an answer for that one. Is our district in need of improvement? GCSD was cited for student proficiency on the New York State ELA and math assessments for our students with disabilities. Immediately following, the district undertook steps to initiate special education quality assurance review process as prescribed by NYSED. Under the leadership of our Director of Special Education, Joe Post, with oversight from Lower Hudson Regional Partnership Centers and Putnam Northern Westchester BOCES, the district is currently in the process of completing measurable targets and a data-driven action plan to address the SEQA review requirements. So, okay. I hope that answered the question. Questions about whether there is a difference between the current daily sanitizing procedure and the end of week sanitizing procedure. Our trained custodians clean and disinfect our buildings each evening. A deeper clean is conducted at the end of each week. And we talked about minutes. Someone volunteered to take minutes this meeting. That was Liz Anastasi. She is currently taking minutes. Is there anyone that can take minutes for the next meeting? Anyone? Anyone? We will need someone to take minutes at the next meeting.
Oh. No, I'm not taking minutes. Sorry.
Oh, I thought you were volunteering. Okay.
Tracy, it's Jackie. I can do it.
Thank you so much, Jackie. The next meeting is in March. I will give you that date in a minute.
Of course.
March. Of course, that's on a different page because
who's the young lady that's taking minutes now?
Liz Anastasi.
Liz, what time did you start? Because I'm praying that you started, because these minutes that I have are they're okay.
I started at like 7:30. I'm sorry, I was having some computer issues and got on late.
Oh my
but
God,
I could
okay, good. That's awesome. Okay.
That's a good time. Okay, so just for clarification, the next meeting is March 1st. That will be from 7:30. We're going to shoot for the hour, 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. And that's on March 1st, and I will send the Zoom meeting link info just prior to that.
And can I just say, Tracy, we'll get that up on social media as well to be sure that everyone has the information.
Okay, so I'll also send you the dates. I'm going to send Ivy a specific email requesting that she put it on our district page as well as the the
That's
calendar,
great.
and then I will also send that to you, Jackie. Thank you.
Great. Yep.
And I do have some questions from a community member. I have an announcement from ECP, and I want to let anyone on the community here on the committee ask any questions. The announcement that I have from ECP is here very quickly. They are doing a pre-K program registration for the 2021-2022 school year. That's pre-registration for the early childhood program. It's going to be on February 2nd. They will host an informational virtual meeting at 6:30 p.m. for all families. Sign up is required. And on February 3rd, starting at 5 p.m., ECP will start handing out numbered application for ECP pre-registration. Applications can be picked up at the Highview School located at 200 North Central Avenue. And for more information, I think they should contact, I can't read this URL. I'm going to say to contact the ECP school directly with any questions about that. And of course, you can call any of our school buildings from the district number, which is 914-761-6000. Okay. Does anyone on the
John Mail is physically housed at Highview right now, right?
They are physically housed at Highview. I'm hoping that their number reroutes. I don't know. Laser, do you know if the number reroutes if someone calls?
Yeah,
for
it's the same.
ECP?
It's the same thing.
It works.
Okay. Okay, so the number will reroute. Awesome. Okay, so does anyone on the call that's still here? I know we've gone over the 1 hour. Does anyone on the call have any questions that they want to add?
Yes, I do. I just want to basically see if you can find out some information for me. This is Kiana Washington. Our bowling team is starting, which is really exciting. Our winter sports are starting, but I have a concern. My concern is that our students are traveling to the Bronx for the games. And my son and a couple of his friends they're in the Saturday League right here in White Plains. And I know for a fact that the White Plains bowling, they really want to bring like the league or, the Woodlands High School League to the bowling alley right there in White Plains. So they're allowing them to practice there. But when it comes to the actual games, our students have to travel to the Bronx. It happened last year. I was concerned about it last year, but this year it's COVID. So now we're cross spreading like communities. So if we are able to be right here in White Plains, why are our students traveling to the Bronx, Boulderland? Yonkers, they're doing their games, Paradise Lanes in Yonkers. They used to go to the Bronx. Briarcliff, they're doing their games in Cortland, on Cortland Lanes. They used to go to Boilerland also. So I know that this was brought up to our AD. So I'm just coming to the Board of Education now just to find out the logistics, because I'm more concerned because it is COVID-19. The numbers are rising. We just need to do better. So I don't know if it could be changed this year, but our students are traveling to the Bronx, a half an hour away, and they could be literally 5 minutes away with a bowling game. So if we can find out, that would be great.
And someone also posted, can we do virtual matches? So each team in their own alley, and then
that would be an excellent idea. I don't know who
their
said
scores.
that. I didn't see the chat, but that
So
would.
I guess, yeah, so we have two questions. One, why can't we bowl locally as opposed to in the Bronx? And then two, or maybe some combination of this, and then do virtual matches. Yeah, like we do it here in White Plains and do the virtual, right? Isn't that, with bowling?
Right. I think that's a wonderful idea. I just looked in the chat and that was from Chris. I don't know. I'm just concerned, I want our kids to have experience even in this crazy world right now. And I just don't know why it's happening.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And we have an agreement there. Right. It's true. Virtual matches are probably not as fun. But yes, we have an agreement as well from Ms. Curtin. And then I think, Sarah, you can just speak up. whenever. Oh, there you go. Okay. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry. I wanted to mention that people are starting to ask about kindergarten registration for next year. And I believe there was an orientation. I think there's one scheduled for this year. I don't know, much about it. But I know last year it was actually a really great event that, we were able to attend in the school, which I'm sure will be virtual this year. But it was really great, but it was just not really marketed well. So a lot of people didn't attend. And especially now with COVID, I think parents probably have a lot more questions. And I just wanted to put it out there that we just need to sort of scale up the presence. So it's not just ECP parents that should know about it. It's, the community as a whole.
That's a great point. I did get an email, but it's different. It's for second grade. I thought it was yesterday. My email box is so packed, but I got an email from my my Leaf Jackson principal about orientation for Highview. So I don't know if that would come from, I don't know if anyone else knows if that would come from ECP or if the kindergarten orientation would come from Leaf Jackson. But I hear your point that you want it to go out to the whole community because there's other places that kindergartners are coming from, not just ECP, correct?
Yeah, so maybe it's even, have something big on the website, are you attending kindergarten? Register here, and just sort of a whole rundown of the information, and obviously of any orientation that's happening too. Yeah, because I think it's hard if you're not connected already with the school.
Thank you. That's super helpful. And now, did you feel like that didn't happen very well last year? But that was COVID, probably, right?
Well, it was pre-COVID last year, and I remember just being confused because I knew there was an orientation, and then at first we were told it wasn't for people in ECP, and then we were told we could go. I don't know, so it was confusing. Okay. But I just feel like the outreach in general isn't great about it. Yeah. When it was a really great program. Yeah. A really great orientation, and we want people to go to it. We want to welcome them into GCSD. So we just want a larger reach.
Yes. I see that Ms. Kelly Ross just brought up a really good point that a lot of people are home, even more so this year with COVID. So then how are we going to reach a lot of those parents as well? So that's a good point.
So Jackie, you're still on here. I'm pretty sure you're taking probably lots of notes as far as like communication wise. How would you do this? Would you like take some of the thoughts that have come up and share with Dr. Chase and Laser and the team to see how we can jump on this? I think especially with ECP, it seems like something can be pulled together rather quickly and shared massively.
Yes, to that specific question, bigger picture. Yeah, it's sort of an ongoing conversation in terms of trying to get this information out. But yeah, so I guess if we want to focus on ECP right now, that is certainly something we can do. And I noted that the deadline in February. That's also something that I know last year I shared with local media. So that people had, it was potentially in multiple sources that people could look at, those with kids coming in that might not already be on, School Messenger and other news sources from the district, but certainly want to get information about the community. We certainly want to try and tap those as well to maximize the reach.
And I just want to be clear that so there's the ECP orientation, which is super important. I was specifically referring to kindergarten orientation because we're also getting new families in kindergarten. So I think both of those areas are really important.
Okay, great point. Thank you for that clarification.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Amy put in here that Liz from the library is here, and that we got her on the committee. And you also reach out to and Liz said we could. So maybe if we can make sure that Liz gets the information, that would be helpful as she reaches out to parents with young children. Okay, and then I had several, if no one else on the committee has questions, I had several questions from a community member. I wanted to read so that everyone can have that.
May I ask for one quick more thing regarding those dates for introduction? Because it is the season and every school has this incoming second graders come here, incoming fourth graders come here. Can I request, please, that administration or somebody put together, like it was put in the chat, a PDF just with all the dates we can copy and paste, and I can take it to my civic association and say, put this in the newsletter, and I can put it on the PTA website and it'll have all the dates. That way every school is in one place with the upcoming, I mean, it's the season, but it would be great to have it all at once.
That would be helpful. As long as
you know what,
write
Tracy,
that down, I have it in the minutes. I'll make sure to follow up with administration. Sorry, Kelly.
I was also going to suggest that maybe they could do recordings of the different orientations and have it on YouTube as well, because a lot of times people could refer back to that.
Yes, that would be helpful as well, because then they can refer to it as needed. Kind of like, it'd be nice to have kind of like a library where you could kind of pull up certain things that parents would want versus maybe you don't want to even see board meetings, but you want to look at certain things from schools where you're able to pull out. I don't know if we can we organize our YouTube like that, where it's like sections of things where you could look at things.
Yeah, there's playlists. It's broken down by playlists, yeah, by schools. It's broken down by schools.
Playlists. Okay. So that's good. Did we come to a decision how we want to do the attendance for this committee? Is everyone on the same page that anyone can get the Zoom link and sign in, and then the committee members will just show their, no.
You have to request it.
What?
You have to request it.
They have to request it. Okay, so anyone who so I'm gonna send the link to the same, I don't know, 20 people, 15 people. And if anyone requests the Zoom link, everyone's fine with the requestee getting the Zoom link and password.
We have to publish the fact that the meeting is coming so that people know to make the request. And in that publication, we say, hey, everybody, meeting coming. If you want to attend, make the request.
Send us an email. Yes. So is everyone fine with that? Does anyone want to say an objection now? Otherwise, I'm going to assume that everyone's fine with it. I see Antoinette's hand.
My only thought is that just note, which is why I think we don't do it as a board anymore, is like if we take, anybody can share the link, and then there you go. So just be mindful of that.
Amy, you're on the committee. You're getting it every time. Don't worry. You're on the committee. But a new person would not be. So if a new person wanted a non-committee member wanted the link each time, they'll have to request each time, unless they tell me they want to be on the committee and then we get a board approved. Then they're getting the link automatically each time. But Amy, you're good. You're on the list. Okay, so let me ask the questions. Sorry, Antoinette, I heard your objection kind of concern, but it sounds like it's okay. Everyone's going to be.
What? Antoinette, you were muted, but there's also the ability to wait and send out the join link 5 minutes before the meeting to anybody who's requested it. That also adds security. So you have your list of everybody who's requested it. You have your 20 people who are usually sent out. You blast the meeting link 5 minutes before, and that would negate unwarranted sharing. Antoinette, would that speak to your concern?
I think that would be a bit better, yeah.
Yeah, that would probably be more like last minute sending. So just keep refreshing your mailbox. If you want to get it, you'll get it within the last 10 minutes. I can't guarantee 5 because I got to corral these.
No, it's a lot for you to manage the meeting. I get it, but yeah,
they're a little crazy.
These are all things that are done for security. It just means it's more on you. I get it.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It just might be 10 minutes, not very, very last minute.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, the issue is, do you have it set up so that anyone with the link can get in, or do you have it set up such that you have to be one of these approved email addresses and you get the link?
That's right, because sometimes I get an email where I get a confirmation back and you have to like register.
Right, and then you don't have to be 10 minutes before and depend upon short notice, because if you don't have the right email address, you can't get in anyway.
I honestly would rather just keep a running list of who's requesting from me, and then I can send it out. I mean, just me. I don't know how that registration things work. I will have to get like a crash course from Laser for that. So it probably is just easier to do it like the old-fashioned way and just send out an email for me. Just for me. But I don't know how easy it is to do the because then wouldn't all of us have to do the registration return thing as well, or no?
Yeah, I mean, you just register and you get a link. When you record your name, it sends you a link to the meeting.
So then you'll have to reset up those meetings for me, Laser, with a registration?
No, I could just add registration.
Okay. And then when I send that out, they'll have to click on the registration. Is that what's gonna happen?
Click on the link,
Okay.
sign up with their name and email, and
Okay.
then when they submit, then they get an email to the meeting.
Okay, that's also an option. I guess we can try that. Okay. Should we move on? So I have some questions from a community member why did we change this meeting from a board committee to a district committee? I want to say we were a district committee before, and we merged with the communications committee, which was also a district committee. I think the question came because the rules kind of changed a little bit with approval of the members. So that I think was a little bit different because we never did that before with the Board of Ed. Does anyone want to explain why that happened this year? Anyone?
I think we just tried to consolidate. We were trying because there was so many committees that were out there, and we were just trying to, I think, consolidate and think what would be, like to work smarter, put things, like try to merge things that made sense that would allow meetings to be not just effective as far as like how it's run, but timely wise, because as you guys all know, many of you are on our at our meetings. We're in a meeting more than I've ever was told when I was first running for a board. This is way beyond anything ever before. So I think that was the premise. We were really trying to consolidate the amount of meetings that board members participate in, because it can be really hard. A lot of times there can be conflicts. We could be on a meeting multiple times a week.
And also, I think that we were supposed to have the district members actually approved, right? I know that came out earlier this year when we were trying to have a meeting, whether or not this committee voted as a whole, or whether or not that just the board members were voting, like who's officially a committee member, and then that has to be approved. So I think we were just trying to really follow the rules and the structure of it this year, but it's actually, it was a district committee before that was the actual title. As a non-committee member, here's my request. Can the committee spend some time figuring out how to get the district to update the website and make some things stand out more or be included? For example, a possible family asks for information on kindergarten registration. They're not in ECP. I know Ms. Lazari just brought this up. Where is this easily found on the website? Is it the registrar, Ms. Lugo, or is the info on Leah Jackson's page about an open house, a tour, and a registration? I couldn't find it, and I gave contact info for both. Can there be social media posts on this? Or a PDF on the calendar says Leah Jackson's open house on the 20th. Is this still accurate? How are parents being notified? all of this fits into communications. When Mr. Siddiqui spoke at the work session, he had questions about Leah Jackson, and it was a missed opportunity, in my opinion, to tell him and the public how they could find and keep up to date about how to enter the school district. Granted, without a website highlighting this info is more difficult to do. Then this person gave another example. Does anyone know what impedes this from happening? So that's a loaded question. It sounds like what impedes this from happening is just that we probably need to look at this again. I remember a few years ago when the communications committee started, that was something we actually did look at, like the website, right? And I don't know, that was like how many years ago? 4 years ago or something? Does anyone have any ideas? Should we have like a small subcommittee that wants to focus just on like the website and good communications with that? Would that maybe help people who are able to kind of get together? Maybe who use the website, definitely a parent.
Love that idea. Subcommittees are great. They can get together, come develop some ideas and bring it to the larger committee.
Is there anyone in the committee that wants to be a part of a subcommittee?
I would volunteer.
I hear Samantha Ives. I see Antoinette's hand. And we definitely would either need you, Laser, or Miguel Barrios, but I feel like Laser does everything. Laser, are you on all of these Zoom meetings, like all of the board, all of the committees, all of the administration Zoom meetings?
Yes.
Now understand, we're going to have to take this act as a recommendation to the board.
Yeah.
Yes. The board president is nodding. Good.
Of course. But
Dave,
wow,
you're talking
Laser,
about
that's
the subcommittee.
So that's
Dave, are you talking about the subcommittee?
Yes. I think there are things in the listing on what you can and cannot do for committees and who gets to appoint them. So we'll have to get the board to do it for us, and then we'll be fine.
I think we should just take a look at that. A subcommittee of a committee. I don't know if it's. Yeah, we'll look at that. All right.
We'll look at it.
And I'm sorry, Tracy, it's Jackie. I was trying to take myself off mute and I'm failing to do so somehow. I would also welcome being part of that committee or subcommittee. Certainly, I think, looking at it holistically and the communications that are on the website as well as on social, what we tease on social and then as longer form on the website, et cetera, to look at it holistically makes good sense.
I'm sorry, I'm muted. I see Chris Fallon has some suggestions. You want to be on that subcommittee, Ms. Fallon? Because you've always had good suggestions. I've known you for several years. And then Amy, we can have Elise. Okay. So I'm wondering, I didn't hear Chris, but I heard Samantha Ives, I heard Antoinette, Jackie, and did we hear someone else volunteer to be on that committee?
I heard Chris.
You heard Chris? I didn't hear Chris, but if Chris wants to be on that committee, that would be fine. I don't know if Chris said she can help. So I don't know if someone who wants to kind of coordinate a subcommittee to really take a look at that. That means you guys got to get on that website and pick through and come up with some ideas for improvement. And you said also there's some things in YouTube. Does anyone want to read that, or I'm not on YouTube? Can you tell us what's in YouTube, Chris?
Yeah, they're basically saying some of what you've said. It's hard. It's of course hard to chat and listen, and it's all, it's complicated and I shouldn't be doing it. Basically some of what you've already said. Deborah Dion says that info for pre-registration at ECP is already posted on the website under schools and then ECP. It actually has a nice little PDF that we could copy paste onto our social media, as we kind of discussed earlier. And Evelyn McCormack suggests that some of that stuff should be moved to the front page of the website. And personally, I agree that when there's topical, eventful things happening that seem to happen every year at the same time, budget season, we put budget stuff on the front page, registration time, January, February, that stuff should be on the front page. In addition to making the suggestions, we could make up a little calendar that can be followed every year for those kind of yearly events. And then mentioning that Laser is ever so helpful with the website. And yep, it just needs time and manpower to make these suggestions. That's all.
Okay, so we're out of time. We just hit 2 hours, even though we had a 1 hour commitment. I will definitely try to keep the agenda down. David, your hand is up.
You wanna take a voice vote on a recommendation to form a subcommittee?
Sure. Can I get a motion?
So move.
Anyone
So
second?
move.
Second.
Okay, so it's been moved and properly seconded that we have a subcommittee specifically focused on the website communications. Is there any discussion? No? Great. Anyone want to vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone
Aye.
opposed? No? Great. So motion carries. We will have a subcommittee of the CEC committee to look at and come up with some recommendations for us by March 3rd meeting for the website. Please include, what we're going to improve, but also who can do this. So I don't know if it's, I don't think it should all fall on Laser, because I just realized he has to go to all of these Zoom meetings. Is this Miguel? Is this our concordant PR firm updating it? Who's doing what? Is it school-based individual update? I don't know.
Yeah, it's it needs to be somewhat broken apart because as a lot of people know, managing a website is a full-time job. Like most places have a webmaster dedicated to just.
Yeah.
And then when you have all these moving parts with schools and departments and all this, it just gets crazy. Even with adding more manpower.
Right.
But it definitely needs to be broken apart somehow.
Thank you, and I concur with that as well. Okay, thank you guys so much. It's a really long meeting. I apologize in advance for that. Our next meeting again is going to be March. Huh? Oh.
No, I'm sorry.
Our next meeting is going to be March 1st at 7:30 p.m. Thank you, Liz, for taking notes. And who volunteered for next time? I don't remember. Did you write that down, Liz? Who volunteered for the next note?
I did write it down.
I did. It's Jackie.
Right, Jackie.
Oh, Jackie, great. Jackie will take notes next time, and I will see you all on March 1st. Everyone, please stay safe and warm, and we will see you soon. Please email me with any additional questions or suggestions. Thank you. Good night.
Have a good night, everybody. The meeting's adjourned.
Be safe.